Call the meeting of the fiscal court to order. Good to see everybody this morning. We have changed our meeting date because of tomorrow's election. We have several people that have asked to appear before the court this morning. David Hamlin.
He's not here, but I'll speak if he
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
show up.
All right.
If that's all right.
That's fine, go right ahead.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I'm here on behalf of the Marshall County Gun Club, and what we'd like to do is, number one, thank the court for the offer of leasing the land, but just try to give a little background here. Mike Van Steenbergen came up with this plan, and he got the ball rolling, and then we got together as a group and elected officers, and I was elected vice president in my absence. I missed that meeting, so they appointed
Well, I
me.
thought you did.
Yeah, they elected me vice president. But anyway, what we've tried to do is get organized as a group, and we've gone through the with the help of Jeff Edwards, the county attorney. We appreciate his work. He's helped us get file with the state to get nonprofit corporation status, and we were in the process of even filing with the IRS to try to get that status as well, but then we run into other hurdles, so we put that on the back burner. But as a club, we've set up bylaws, we've elected officers, we've set up bylaws, and we're trying to do everything, up front. But what we've run into on the site is when we had Russell and the county department, we appreciate their help, when they actually came out to remove the stumps from the proposed site, as soon as they removed the stumps, the water started coming up from under the ground. So that sent a light bulb off. And so we did some more studies. We had the USDA office here in Benton. They did a survey for us, and they have a specialist in Mayfield that prepared a report on the groundwater and the stuff of that area. And they said that there's basically an underground stream and under that piece of property that we didn't know was there. So, it's not feasible to use that land basically because it's too wet. And when we were getting into it, we knew it was wet because it's just low land.
Yeah.
But we thought it was wet because of the rainwater itself. But really, the main problem is from the saturation coming up from the, whatever you call that, the surface water or whatever. So that's the major concern. And then, so with that, we, and with Russell, saying that the county just didn't have the means or the equipment to do something to that scale, we went and contacted an excavating company, and we got a bid from them. And their bid just for the dirt work on the 100-yard range was $65,000 to $75,000 for the dirt work. And that being if they could get their equipment in and out without getting stuck. And I think Russell and them even had some trouble just removing the stumps because, it may look dry on the top, but when you get the heavy equipment in there, it sinks more than say a regular pickup truck or whatever. So, that's basically where we're at. We like I say, just thank the court for their willingness to help us. But at this point, what we're looking at is a club. We've given our club members at our last meeting up until our June meeting. If there's no viable option in means of we're asking if there's anybody out in the county that has land that would like to donate it or partner with us in some way. If not, we're going to refund everybody's money that paid dues. And just on that, we had approximately 50 to 60 people who were willing from the community to put $125 up front to try to get this going. And all that money is sitting in an account, and we will refund everybody's money. We've been out some expense, but the officers of the club are going to forego their dues and eat that to make sure that everybody gets their money back. But and then that's me speaking for the club itself. But me personally, I'd like to address the fiscal court and thank you, because if you remember, it's probably been 4, maybe 5 years ago, I sent an email asking, if there's anything the county could do. I think at that time Bob told me, it would take an outside group or a organization to try to do something like this. So I just hope that this failure, or not really a failure, but the lack of our success, I hope it doesn't hurt anything in the future. If anybody comes up with another plan, I hope we still try to go forward with this, because I do think it's something the county needs and would be well used. But like I say, I think our effort is just falling short at this time, so.
Well, when Russell told me, the amount of yards
Feel
of
right.
fill it was gonna take, I thought, boy, that's a big undertaking, but you're right, that ground is so wet, and I'm like you, I thought, well, maybe when it dries up in the summer,
Right.
we can get in there and do some work, but, I don't know if it's underground springs or underground stream, whatever.
Yeah.
That area is a really wet area and be hard to do. But we will, continue, to work with you if you come up with a viable place.
Okay.
What about where the old range was?
I
How
don't
big of an
think
area
KCO
is it?
will, I don't think KCO will insure us on that one because of the
Because of
lawsuit that we
yeah,
had.
okay.
Yeah.
And that's something else that we've done as a club. We took it upon ourselves too. I've gone up and had a meeting with Andy Lepistow, over in the GIS department to try to, because that was a good thing about that piece of property is you had such a buffer zone between it and anything, anything else. And to try to find something like that elsewhere in the county. It's
hard.
We were not able to do it. Like I say, we sought Andy's help to try to use his technology and his knowledge to try to find an alternate piece. And that's really hard because that was why that one was so attractive, was because you had basically a 3-mile buffer zone between the end of the firing line and anything, that could be of any danger. And so that, that's hard to find that piece of property in Marshall County. So, yeah, but we did seek, try to hit that avenue as well.
Well, just stay in touch, and if we can help in any way, if we find something,
Okay.
and I'm like you, when you think about what you need in the way of, no houses, no property, no cattle.
Right.
It's
hard to
kind of
find.
hard to find.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And like I say, it is we tried to cover all of our bases and go that route, but like I say, at this time, we're just at a loss, so.
Okay. Well, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tom Lyons asked to address the court this morning. Roger.
First of all, I'd like to thank the court for appointing me to fill in the vacant position until Election Day. I've got 18 years of law enforcement experience between the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Of course, no one would know I'm from Massachusetts. I do not have an accent. I stopped by last week and talked to Kevin, who I consider a friend, because he is the top law enforcement officer in the county, and he gives me some guidance. And we laid out some ground rules in case I were to have a problem at mainly at the campground. And we got things pretty much set up, for backup and such. So, of course, in the last 5 years, I've not had any trouble down there, but you just never know. But I've talked to him, and he brought up a couple of things. I have stopped at a couple of people in distress on the road. One situation was a fellow that rides a bike around our area. A lot of you would probably know him, that broke down. And having 18 years of law enforcement altogether, and also have over 20 years of a volunteer firefighter, I'm one of those crazy people who will stop on the road and help somebody. It's just, I guess it's in our blood. And what I was talking to Kevin about is I wanted to put a couple of additional red lights on the back of the truck so that I wouldn't be part of the accident, because just your regular flashes is sometimes not enough. And he suggested that I come to you people on it only because I'm not a private citizen anymore. If I was, there wouldn't be a problem, but I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to equip my truck with emergency lights to do traffic stops or anything like that. And I don't even know what I'm gonna do and when I can afford it. But all I wanna do is put a couple of additional red lights in the back of the truck showing backwards only, so that if I am stopping to help somebody or what have you, I've got more visibility than just my flashes. There'd be absolutely nothing facing forward. And with my law experience, you don't do a traffic stop alone, so there's no way I want lights, you know, to get involved in that type of stuff. I'm just talking about additional safety if I stop on the road. So I wanted to run that through you people so that, you know, somebody wouldn't turn around and say, I'm trying to, you know, put all kinds of lights on to do this, that, and the other. I just want to put a couple of additional lights a little higher on the bed of the truck, facing backwards, and I don't even know what kind. I gotta find out what I can beg, borrow, and steal. And call my son back in Cape Cod to see what he's got available, because he is a firefighter back there. So that's one thing I wanted to run past you. The other thing, when I was a private citizen, I have a Kawasaki Mule, and I use that to run around the campground, on campground property, and I have a little blue strobe light. And I'll ride around there 10, 11 o'clock at night with that thing flashing, and it lets the people in the campground know that there is security around, and, you know, they feel safe. There's been a lot of reports back to the owner about, hey, we like this idea. The other thing too is that also, if I were to get into trouble, they can find me. You pull into the campground, if that light's on, you'll see it someplace. And I've never used it on the road. The Mule won't go over 20 miles an hour. There's no siren on it or anything like that. It's just a blue strobe. And again, where I'm not a private citizen, being a constable, I would like you're okay to either use it or say, no, don't use it. And whatever you decide, because I don't want to, you know, cross anybody or give somebody the idea that I'm trying to do something that I shouldn't be doing. Again, I use it strictly in the campground, and the Mule does, I think, 20 miles an hour maximum speed. So some of the golf carts I can't catch. These new high-rise golf carts got bigger engines in them, and they used to do just 12 miles an hour. The other thing is, I think we've only done it once, but I would like permission from the court to be able to call 911 and get what we call a 1028 to run a license plate to find out who it is. I'm not interested in finding out if there's wants and warrants for them. I'm just wanted for identification. We have vehicles left down at the boat ramp on TVA property, and TVA is getting to be, as you people know, one royal pain in the butt. And they have required the lease owners to enforce the laws and this, that, and the other thing. And we've got trucks and trailers left there. We have no idea who they are. And I think in the past 5 years, I think we've done it once. I called Kevin, and he ran it for me. But Kevin's not always in town with schooling and this, that, and the other. I'm not interested in finding out what vehicles are on the road or anything like that. This is vehicles that are strictly parked and left overnight. And that's what I'm asking permission from you people to be able to call 911 and be able to get identification on these vehicles so we can chase them down.
All right, let's take this one at a time. Your first request was to have additional red lights on the back of your vehicle that will be used in your duties as constable. Is that correct?
That'd be used basically as just a person seeing an accident and stopping to help, not necessarily as constable. If I'm coming home from church on a Sunday and somebody's broke down on the side of the road, I would stop to make sure that they're all right or what have you, so it's,
And we're talking about red lights. The fiscal court did take action on June the 6th, 2011, and denied the constable of the 3rd District permission to use a blue light. Nothing was said about red lights that I recall, but it was blue lights.
Yeah, I think the statute specifically addresses blue lights.
Okay.
well, these lights would not show forward.
Tom, would yellow or white
No, the
not
only
be an
restriction
option?
on red is
Well,
front.
I haven't really decided yet, but I have found that a lot of times with like a red strobe and a yellow strobe mixed is a better eye catcher than just two red ones. I haven't got the lights, I can't afford them right now, but basically, if I was a private citizen, then there'd be no problem. I could do what I want, as long as they don't face forward. But being a constable, I'm not a private citizen, and I don't want people to misconstrue that I'm setting my truck up to do stops. I just, if I stop and help somebody, I don't want to be part of the problem.
I don't think there would be any need to illegalize what's already legal, and he can run them.
He can have extra red lights on the back of the vehicle anyway, can't he, Jeff? It's not illegal for anyone.
Right.
And that's your vehicle, isn't it?
Yes,
I don't think
But
we have
again-
any jurisdiction over that.
but again, as talking to Kevin, and he is right, I'm not a private citizen anymore, and I don't want people to misconstrue that I'm doing this as a constable to show off more and start sneaking a little bit here and there. I just,
And I did tell Tom that that'd probably be the best thing to do, come address you guys, because I did know about, and back in
Yeah.
11, that we, you did make
And
that
that was
restriction.
specifically for blue lights, so I think.
Exactly, and
yeah.
that's why I had him to come
Yeah.
to you guys, just to make sure that, everything's on the up and up and whatnot, so.
Okay,
and I appreciate that too.
so there's nothing in the statutes that prohibit that. I don't know
No,
that
they're not.
we would have to make a,
No, you wouldn't have to take any formal action on that.
all right. So we don't have a problem, I'm assuming, from anybody here.
Is that, can they run red lights like on top of the vehicle as well, if that were to come up for future
As long as
reference?
it's
Facing
facing the
backwards.
rear.
As long as
Yeah.
it's
What I
facing-
want to do is actually just mount them on the bed of the truck in front of the back of the cab, so they're a little more at eye level. I don't want to put anything on the roof or anything like that. They'd be behind the cab on the bed of the pickup truck.
Now, as far as the radio, it's my understanding that the sheriff,
Radio?
yeah, what were you talking about
No,
on?
he was just wanting to.
No,
requesting to
Call
Be able
911.
to call in to dispatch and then.
On my cell phone.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
I mean,
I mean, that's your call, I mean, I don't,
Animal control,
they do that,
they
right?
do that, so,
Right.
as long as it's not abused, and I don't think Tom would abuse that in any way, that I don't see that would
Right,
be an
that would be
issue
the only
with it, yeah.
limiting factor if it got to the point that it was, you see it as
Yeah.
being abused or for not the right purposes.
Yeah,
So there's no problem with that,
I
I
don't
didn't
see
think,
where
I
there's any issue with
didn't
that
think there
either.
was, but
Yeah.
the radio issue came up one time, and we're talking about strictly cell phone to
Just
call in, get information.
Call in, get information, and I have their non-emergency line that I'd use instead of tying up the 911 line.
Okay,
And like I say, in the last 5 years, I think we had a problem once, and I called Kevin, and he took care of it.
Yeah, I can let Jason know
Yeah.
that, you know, he's gonna be the constable
Yeah.
and he'd be ones that can do that. So
Okay.
that shouldn't be an issue.
All right.
Then the only other thing is the blue light on my mule, which does not go on the road. It's strictly,
Now, that's something that you and the sheriff are,
No,
What?
that's something that I think y'all.
Well. the
Well,
blue
we've
light-
addressed
now,
this
Are you
and-
saying it's not on the public road at all?
no. It's on the mule,
No,
but I
some of
cannot,
those-
I
some of the
cannot
roads
use
in-
it on a public road anyway. I mean, it's
now, the only
illegal for
road
me
that
to
is
use it on
public
a
road is
road.
going into and coming out of the campground.
Okay.
That is a public road.
Yeah, I do not use it coming or going.
Well, then that goes back to the same issue as you dealt with before on the blue light. That would mean you would have to give him specific permission to use a blue light.
All right?
And that would be in the campground only. Basically, private property.
Would it be possible for you to change it out to a red lens?
I'm sorry?
Would it be possible for you to change it to a red lens rather than blue?
That one, no.
No, you can't change the lens out.
No, it's just something I had left over from years back.
And for this purpose, I see it's not a big deal, but I could understand where it would open up a completely different situation if it were
It's gonna-
someone else wanting to use
It's
a blue
gonna
light.
open the door and
Yeah.
contradict what you did
Yeah.
in 2011 is what it's gonna do.
Well, that's the only thing I have. We did pass a motion in 2011, because that was to have blue lights, period. I mean, not restricted, was
Yeah.
this, but because of this, I think it would take action of the court to allow it even in a private area.
Well, this would be, like I said, it'd be a private area, and it's on a mule that doesn't go over 20 miles an hour, there's no siren, and going and coming, I'm only a quarter of a mile from the campground, and I have my own trail beside the road, so I'm not driving down the road per se.
But like you said, you're not a private citizen anymore, you're a constable.
That's right.
So that makes it,
That's exactly
a
it.
little
And again, it would be strictly in the campground,
Okay.
and if you say no, then I just won't turn it on.
It's up to the court, what y'all want to do.
I guess we've set a precedence already, we can't do it, so I don't know what else we can do. Maybe you can change it to something else, or we can assist him some way. I mean, I don't know. You know, we did vote to not allow someone else to use a blue light as a constable, so. Maybe we shouldn't. If you
No, that's
can,
fine, that's why I wanted to bring it towards you, as, you know, Kevin
If
suggested.
it was red or
because-
yellow, then it would be
Wouldn't make any
okay.
difference.
Yeah,
Now,
that's,
maybe you can
red, I
change
still
it.
Well,
don't think if
red-
it's forward facing, I don't still think you can do it red, but if it was amber, green, something like that, I don't think it would be prohibited.
Yeah, see, red you can't have facing forward, flashing or rotating red facing forward either unless you have a fire department permit.
yeah.
I mean, I've been doing it as a private citizen on private property, but now, as Kevin brought up, I'm not a private citizen, so now, can I still use it? If the board says that not, then I won't use it. I want to stay in compliance with.
Okay, what's your pleasure? We did, like Terry said,
Well, I
we
think
voted
I
back.
think we've already set a precedence that we can't, so we probably shouldn't, on the
Okay.
blue light. Maybe at some point you could change it to a yellow light, perhaps.
I'd have to get something
Yeah.
else because this isn't
Right.
changeable.
Right. Yeah, that's what I
I
said.
really don't need a light in there.
Right.
It just
Did you put that
sometimes
in the
make the
form of a
people feel
motion, Terry?
better.
Do we need a motion?
I guess we would.
Well,
Since the
you would
request
only
has
need
been
a
made.
motion if you
Don't do it.
voted to change what you've done.
Oh. So if we don't need a motion, you just say we leave it the way it is, I guess.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
then I will not use the blue light anymore.
All right, thank you.
What campground it is you're talking about?
I'm
What
sorry,
campground is it?
Southern Comfort,
Southern Comfort, yeah.
but what I'm gonna, it's just magnetic mount, that's wired in. If it's all right with the board, I mean, I'll leave it on there, but I will not use it. But I do like the idea of having it available if I get into trouble down there, which I never have, and have to call the sheriff's department. At least I'd be able to flip it on with the vehicle not moving and they could find me. But that would be a vehicle that is standing still.
What were you saying?
That's between you and the sheriff. Huh?
Would that be a problem?
You're saying no?
Well, I mean, the statute doesn't differentiate with moving vehicles. You're on private property, but, you know, I mean, it's no more illegal than it was before. I mean, to have a blue light. It's still could, I still think it would be in violation of the statute
Okay.
if it's blue.
It's liability on the court.
Yeah.
That's the thing that needs.
Then I'll pull a fuse.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Bob Gifford?
Yes, Judge, I have a draw request in the amount of $14,010. This is the completion of the telemetry on the brewer's tank, and the request goes to Rick's Electric, again in the amount of $14,010 from KIA Fund B 1003.
You've heard the request. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
That's all I have, Judge.
All right. All right, let's, is there anyone else asked to be on the court agenda today? Yes, sir?
Judge,
I didn't know you were on the
well,
agenda.
I'm not on the agenda. If
Okay.
you could, and
Just,
wanted to kind of come back. It's
All
been,
right.
I'm going to stand up. They say I don't have to bend over to this thing.
okay.
Gary Vanderbilt, Commonwealth Environmental Services, my company, as I presented here several months ago, represents the nuclear workers from the Paducah Gas Diffusion Plant and nuclear workers from the Allied Chemical Plants that currently work or are being terminated or have worked there in the past, and their families that maybe they've lost their loved ones. And we also are a nationwide advocate, so we represent people from Savannah, Riverside, Oak Ridge, and to recently we were successful in a claim at Rocky Flats. So we're all sort of nuclear workers. I'm a 14-year veteran for nuclear worker working for Lockheed Martin, Bechtel Jacobs, and finally Westchem. And what I'm here today for is to present to you all a possible presentation that I can make in more detail maybe at the next meeting. We're finding some still continuing disturbing things that are happening. We've met with Congressman Whitfield's staff, and they declined to help. And we're talking about workers all over Western Kentucky. 80% of the claims, for your all's information, were denied before I started doing this. And I'm a nuclear worker, and these are my co-workers. So once I started presenting, as I said last time, my position and how these people are being mistreated, it was just appalling. And Judge, if you remember last time, we've known each other. We go way back. I was city engineer in Paducah. We've had many times together where we've helped the community in various projects. And when I got into this, I had people coming to me that I couldn't even begin to help because it was just me. And so I've become an advocate, which it's also called an authorized representative. Under this act, people can get help, and they can't get attorneys to help. I can't get them to help. So there's something behind the scenes that we need investigated why your Marshall County claimants, as Judge Terry's Carlisle County claimants, and as Vicky Vineyard's Ballard County claimants are being cheated because they meet the law, but it looks like we've uncovered a popularity contest. And Judge, you know that's not right. If the law says pay somebody, let's pay them. Now, I want to make this personal here today, and Judge and I just went to Herbie Travis's funeral here about a couple weeks ago. And he was my claimant. And for 5 years, I fought for Herbie's claim. Should have been approved 5 years before they ever approved it. I took him to attorneys in Washington DC, Government Accountability Project. His claim was denied until the very day we filed in federal court in Washington DC. And Judge, we've never told you this detail. But Mr. Travis, once they realized we were going to stand up to him, they pulled his case back and put it back in the EUICPA jurisdiction. Now, I thought that was illegal. But I had to take the case and then win that case within six to 8 months. I won his case about 1.5 years ago. What it did for Mr. Travis is he finally got the cancer coverage that this law was supposed to absolutely cover. But Herbie, I picked up the paper. I had a good day on April 26th because we've just got all the Allied Chemical people. They're perfect. They're over there right now unloading DOE drums that nobody would admit to. We caught DOE concealing that with NRC. NRC's agreed with me, and we're moving forward on that. I don't know how many people you have here in Marshall County that worked at Allied Chemical, but now I'm going to get you coverage for Part E. But to see Mr. Travis be treated the way he was, and I left that meeting over there on April 26th, got a phone call. Herbie died that Monday night, and I didn't know it. And as the judge knows, his motorcycle sitting right there in the funeral home. This upsets me because Herbie and I were friends. I knew him when he came to the plant. He was there when I started at the plant, and I knew what he did. And they basically didn't want anybody knowing what they'd done to him. And Judge, I can just, how many more, because nobody like me will step up. And you know Mr. Poe's, you know the Poe brothers. Well, we won their claims partially, but it's just amazing to me how somebody this cruel would look at the evidence that I've given, and even Senator McConnell, Rand Paul, Congressman Whitfield, their staff looked at it and said, sorry, they got denied the first time. We're not going to let them, even though it was illegal, we're not going to let them get their money. And that's wrong. This country wasn't founded on that kind of treatment of our nuclear war heroes. Now, it's kind of interesting. We're now seeing the veterans, they're bringing all this to the top of the news media now, putting it out for everybody to see. Our veterans, we're finding out where their benefits were withheld too. And some of them drastically died. Well, if you go back and listen to what I'm telling you, in McCracken County, I might not have mentioned that to you all, I was begging people to do the resolutions because I've got dying claimants that when you look at it, a 5-year-old can tell that these people, once you were irradiated and exposed to hazardous chemicals, their claims examiners just ignore you. And I don't tolerate that. As a nuclear worker for 14 years at the plant and a Lockheed Martin project manager with 2 President's Awards, and everybody wonders, well, why do I brag about that? Well, back then, the contract was different. It was a contract that you got paid for what you did and you were ethical. Right now, that all bets are off. I mean, it's awful. I've got workers coming to me and there's radioactive materials being spread out on equipment. One person the other day said, did you go to the auction? Judge, I hope you didn't go, because they were actually showing people with DOE stickers on them with yellow tags. That means radioactive material. It was auctioned off to the general public. So you all are the first to hear this. They're not listening in Paducah. You're not represented on the, you're not represented on the PED and the PACRO boards. Judge Terry and I know what's going on. These people are making money off our sick nuclear workers. And because DOE wants to conceal this, apparently there's somebody behind the scenes that says we can keep the secret for you, but let's keep those grants coming in. Bob, that's appalling. Terry, that's appalling. Mitzi, that's appalling. This is not a Republican Democrat issue. This is bipartisan, and we shouldn't tolerate it. But I just want to say, this movement now in Marshall County, it's shocking to hear now, after all the benefits we got for Herbie Travis, he went into a hospital in December, into Vanderbilt, and he had a CAT scan, and they had a spot show up, and Herbie, being a private person, and his wife called me, they wouldn't pay the bill. They rejected the bills. They begged for him to pay his bills. They wouldn't pay them. Now, you're the first to hear this. I don't know how you all would feel, but if I've just been approved for cancer and it's spreading all over my body, then you better pay those bills since it's linked to that plant. They rejected it. Now, we're still trying to work on that, but I'll keep you abreast of how that happens. I'm just saying, how many more people are out there? And so I'd like to come back later and give you all a presentation on a resolution, because you all were left out of the first round. If you remember, I apologize for not, I'm just one person, and I've got hundreds, and I've probably got, the damages to this community are 1.5 billion if you only paid 5,000 claims. There's 18,000 that have been denied. And when you see this stuff, and these men that are being, I get their medical records, I've got waivers, I've got waivers to produce their medical records. And Judge, please don't go on a tour of that plant. Do not, because when they put kids in there and take those kids around the plant, a young lady got up in Paducah at the DOE meeting for 18 minutes, she's on the CAB presentation, and CAB is Citizens Advisory Board, which is nothing but DOE people. They don't want people like us, workers. For goodness sakes, you'd get the truth. So the other night, I went for the first time in like 3 months, and yeah, I'm upset because they say they don't have anything to do with the nuclear workers. To heck they don't. I've got a DOE official that's just been identified that's keeping off the allied people because they're not qualified for the same toxic substances at Paducah. I guess they think they're some kind of Superman, which they're not. But when you look at what I've caught them in, the NRC agreed with me. They're processing DOE drums over there today, trying to get rid of them real quick. It's too late. I've already notified the U.S. Attorney in Southern Illinois and Kentucky and all the members of Congress, Judge. So, I mean, we need the governors, and I'm kind of surprised we need people like the judge when we all come together. We need Whitfield, McConnell, Shimkus, his staff member was right in the audience when they got caught. We recorded it all. And so we don't need denying. We've got the evidence. I don't play that same game as everybody else. I record people, videotape them, and as I ended that meeting with NRC, safety meeting the other day, 2 workers came up. They thought I was NRC. I was asking to go out to my vehicle, pulled in, walked up to me and asked me if I was NRC, and I said, no, but I can introduce you. And I just happened to say, you're not from the plant, are you? And they said, yes. I said, you're not handling those firm code drums, which means Fernald Environmental Restoration Company, contracted from DOE. So if you look back in 1995 and you type in Firmco, you'll see Cincinnati Inquiry, thousands of drums. They cleaned them up. They didn't clean them up, they sent them down here to Metropolis. Now, our people that work in Kentucky, namely several of my claimants, and we shared this with Ed Whitfield, Michael Pate, numerous Ed Whitfield contacts, Corey, one of his chief of staff, Corey Hicks. We need results. We don't need politics anymore. We need fairness in this program and not singling out one group because they may keep the secret. Secret's done. And so I just thank you all, Judge. I didn't mean to take up this much time. Any questions or comments? I would like to get you all the resolution at Ballard County, Carlisle County, and Hickman County. Greg down in Hickman.
Greg Pruitt?
Greg Pruitt. Greg and I have been friends a long time. Joe, we're all kind of family here in West Kentucky. When you find out that 18,000 claims have been filed, and Paducah, for some reason, has been targeted for massive denial. Well, you know why, don't you? It was my coworkers, which I didn't know about. They filed a $1 billion key tam, which Bill Murphy, our notorious Rocky Flats cover-up man, he's now in Paducah. We knew what he was doing. He was coming to cover up everything in Paducah, and the radiation hit all over. So the radioactive cloud, I'll show you, it was vented through the roofs of the buildings. I've got claimants all over this community that were told it was safe enough to eat. My Lord. Zero amount inside. So anyway, that's my, apologize, it's been probably about a year, but I can't let you all down, and I've got a commitment to you all too, and the public here. Anybody that's had a denied claim, Commonwealth Environmental Services, 270-450-0850. I can't let people die without knowing they had benefits available. And by the way, I would like for you all to support the National Day of Remembrance for the Cold War veterans, the nuclear workers, in the whole nation. But I want you to do it because you really believe in it, not because you want to do it and praise somebody and behind the scenes deny their claim. Judge, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Any questions for Gary? All right, let's move on to correspondence from Dr. Gary Bogus. This is to our road superintendent, Russell York. Sent me a copy, said, "Dear Mr. York, from our initial call to your office regarding storm damage to the Trout Road to the finished job, everyone was most delightful and professional. The workmanship speaks for itself, absolutely beautiful and far beyond any expectations. Thanks to you and your quality staff for such a great job. Once again, you've done the county proud. Sincerely, Dr. Gary Bogus." Let's move into old business. You've all received copies of the May 6th meeting of the fiscal court. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes of the May 6th meeting? If not, would entertain a motion to approve.
the minutes, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. We have been approved, and I've checked with the Rural Roads Office and the county attorney, so we can move on the Old Calvert City Road Bridge, CR 1825. The only problem you're gonna have is some power lines, Commissioner Drew, that run there. There's gonna have to be some blankets put over that line, or I think they have blankets that you use to, so you don't get shocked when you're driving. The other problem, you've got a driveway right at the end of the bridge, so we're moving it back. District engineer recommended that we add 4 feet, I believe, but we're going the other way in order to take care of that. If you recall, at our last meeting, we had our bid openings, and we did not have any bids for our CDL physical and medical physical exams. Dr. Kyle Egner, I believe, has been doing that. Is that correct, Emily? Russell, is that who we've been using?
Yeah, mostly.
I have a letter from Dr. Egner. Said, "Dear Judge Miller, I would appreciate the opportunity to continue doing the Marshall County Road Department physicals. The drivers are already in a random drug and alcohol consortium through Egner Chiropractic, and keeping everything with one business would be cost-effective. Beginning 5/21/2014, all drivers must use a DOT certified medical examiner for their CDL physical and medical certificate. I have been a certified medical examiner since 12/10/2013. I am a member of Team CME, my national registry number," and he gives that. "Same-day appointments are routine in our office with little waiting time. Our pricing is competitive, and we will save you time and money on your next physicals." He gives the prices, DOT physicals $55, urine specimen collection with MRO review $32, saliva alcohol screening $35, breathalyzer $35. This is from Kyle Egner. As we did not receive any bids at all for this service, we can either accept Dr. Egner's request or re-advertise, whatever you want to do. He has been doing our physicals, I think, the last year.
Yes.
Last year. So this would be a continuation of his contract.
You can continue to use him, I guess, unless you find someone that, that gives you
Well,
better service.
we advertised in our
But I mean,
bids.
once we've advertised, then we can use,
You can use anybody you want to,
yeah, I'd like to make it
but,
okay to continue to use.
but
Yeah.
if you want to accept this, we can go ahead and accept his proposal. I'm assuming, right, Jeff? Since we-
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you can continue using him or anybody else that you choose.
think
So
we
if
just
you
leave it
want
up
to
to
continue
Russell.
using him, you're fine. But you could stop anytime too.
Have you had any problems, Russell?
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
So without a motion, you don't have to have a motion to accept this, just
No,
keep
you're not
using?
signing a new contract. There's no guarantee of anything on there. So I wouldn't agree to just, if you had exact numbers, then I'd say you might want to enter into a contract, but that's just competitive. That doesn't mean much to me. So you could just continue using him.
Okay, well, he's giving your pricing.
Oh,
there.
I didn't hear that read.
Yeah, he's giving you pricing on everything
Oh,
you're doing.
oh, okay.
But
Well,
I
I
mean,
still
that's
we
like
think,
still,
anything
we can
else.
still use, Russell can still use
Yeah.
anyone he
Yeah.
chooses.
right,
Like with the concrete, I mean, we didn't receive a
Right.
bid, so it's just kind of open.
He can use this guy, or if he knows what he's gonna charge, but if someone will do it cheaper, then he can use those or whatever he chooses,
Right.
so I understand.
right. I mean, I think it puts you in the best position.
Right.
Okay, so no action needed, is that
No,
what
you
you're
can,
saying?
you are, the only action you would, was let Russell or whoever's making that decision, they can choose on it, to do it as they feels most economical. That would be the only
I make a
action.
motion, Judge, we allow Russell to use whoever he chooses.
Second.
You got a motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Hey,
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Retirement circled the drainage issue. Russell, have y'all looked at that again? And
We hadn't been able to get down there because it's been so wet and everything, so we're just trying to wait to,
But did I understand you to say that y'all were gonna have to get on private
Private
property to,
Clean out the ditch area.
clean it, to make it more feasible or maybe solve the problem? We don't know that it will, but hopefully
Right.
that'll solve the problem. Have you talked to the landowner? Are they in agreement?
not yet. I haven't.
Okay. All right. Any other old business? Let's move into new business.
well, Judge, old business, I guess Russell mentioned earlier, I think, that last, I think it's the last meeting, we talked about hiring people to follow the mowers, and I think he needs 3 instead of 2.
Yeah, he was gonna bring that up in his report. I don't know.
Okay.
I've got him down for that. All right, let's move into new business. We have an interlocal agreement from the city of Hardin. This agreement made and entered into by and between the city of Hardin, Kentucky, and the county of Marshall. Whereas city and county may enter into an interlocal cooperative agreement to provide for services in a manner that will afford to each the best means of utilization of its respective funds. And whereas city needs a residential building inspector to provide building inspections required for residential construction within the city's corporate limits. And whereas county employs a building inspector with the required qualifications and certifications that is available and can provide the required services to the city. And whereas under the provision of Kentucky Interlocal Cooperation Act 65-210 to 65-300, city and county may enter into an agreement for the purpose of sharing a service and providing for payment of an amount for that service. Now therefore, it is agreed, number one, pursuant to the provisions of KRS 65-210, county agrees to provide city any residential building inspection it shall require in the corporate limits of the city in consideration of the city's payment for those services. This service shall be provided for by a county and paid by the city pursuant to the Interlocal Cooperation Act. The term of this agreement shall be for a period of 2 years unless earlier terminated in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 hereof. The county agrees to make any and all inspections required for residential construction that are required in the city. This service shall be provided through the county's building inspector, and those duties a building inspector shall be required to perform in the city shall be comparable to those required for a building inspector under the state building code now in effect, as may be amended during the term of this agreement in the county. Number 4, city agrees to pay county, and county agrees to accept 80% of any fee collected by the city and/or paid to the city for any building permits issued by the city for any residential construction in the city. Number 5, the building inspector assigned by the county to provide services to the city shall be obligated to provide services to the city when he is notified by the city administrator or the mayor that a residential building inspection will be required for any residence to be constructed in the city for which any inspection may be required. Number 6, the building inspector assigned by the county to provide services to the city shall have the right to use his discretion at what time of a day and in what manner his duties will be performed, unless the building inspector is advised that a situation exists where the required service is needed at a specified time. Then the required service shall be performed as quickly as the building inspector can provide the required service, or, in the alternative, the city may at its sole discretion engage another qualified building inspector to perform that inspection. The city and county agree that the building inspector assigned to any duties in the city pursuant to the provisions hereof shall at all times be an employee of the county, and nothing herein expressed or implied shall be construed as making that person an agent, servant, or employee of the city. Number 8, in the event the city or county shall be required to purchase any equipment or tools needed by the building inspector to perform his duties under this agreement, the cost of the same shall be paid by the city, and the property shall be and remain city property, and be returned to the city by the county upon termination of this agreement. The county agrees to indemnify and hold the city harmless against all loss or claims for damages to persons or property arising out of or in any manner related to any of those services performed in the city by the county's building inspector under the provisions of this agreement. This agreement shall be effective as of June 1, 2014. The agreement shall be terminated by either the city or county by giving a written notice of termination 90 days in advance of the termination date. If the contract is terminated prior to the end of the month for which a payment is due, the amount due the county shall be paid at the city's next regular pay period. Pursuant to the provisions of KRS 65-260, this agreement shall be submitted to the Attorney General for approval as to form and compatibility with the state laws of Kentucky. Upon approving this agreement, the Attorney General, city and county shall enact the ordinances approving and exacting same. And witness, this is signed by Mayor Randall Scott of the city of Hardin. And the city has asked for your approval of this interlocal agreement. What's your pleasure?
That's something that you just reviewed all this?
They're about the same as the one with the city.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
point out, we've just received ours back from the city and approved it. They gave us approval for the almost identical
Yeah.
Marty,
contract.
I'm sorry, could you come over to the microphone? They've asked us to.
Sorry, but, this is the agreement that you all have with the city. We sent it in to be approved. They did suggest that you send an enacting resolution when you send it up.
Okay.
So it makes it go a lot quicker. So if you would, make sure that gets a resolution gets adopted today authorizing the county judge to sign that. But we did receive ours back today, and I've brought it, delivered it downstairs to be recorded, and this is a copy for y'all's record.
And this agreement with the city of Arden pretty much mirrors that of the city of Benton, that enacted that to the city of Benton.
Yes.
Will you have to draft a resolution to go along with
Right,
this
if
yet?
you all will accept that, I will draft a resolution reflecting that for you to sign later today.
Okay. Motion to accept the,
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
So Judge, where does this leave us with county process for these inspections? I mean, the cities are squared away, but where does this,
Well, we're all on the same footing now.
I mean, is it gonna be handled out of the city office, or are we gonna have an office here? And what's the process of education for, I mean, I'm on the court and I couldn't tell you where to pull a permit. I couldn't even tell you what it was for, and so that's my concern. How-
Yeah, well, that'll be outlined in the ordinance.
So
I
the
think-
ordinance is gonna be set and then county inspections will begin?
Yeah.
But it's
Okay.
my understanding that it will be handled out of the planner's office. Is that correct, Josh, Wendy? Are we clear on that yet?
That's kind of my point.
We had talked about it being out of the PBA office a few times, and then there was even discussion of it being out of Lois's office at the city of Benton, but we knew the other cities wouldn't want to come to City Hall in Benton. So, we haven't really discussed, we haven't finalized where to do that at. And, we also need to adopt the state building code fees. Whereas we had talked about it at the last court meeting, but we never officially adopted.
We adopted.
Did we adopt?
No,
we
we
have
have
No.
an ordinance
For the-
for
Oh,
it
okay,
now.
okay. And so, but, you know, we haven't really, and we're still missing Calvert's in our local agreement too. We've got to get theirs.
Right.
We've got Hardin's and Benton's, but we have to have Calvert's. So we don't really, I thought during the budget meetings, we might figure out where we can figure out how to fill that spot or how we wanted to do it. I mean, I don't know. It's up to you guys on how we want to run the program. But the health department just is open, you know, like certain hours, you pull a permit only between 8 and 10 or 7 and 10 or something like that. So that might be something we would want to do so that somebody's not doing it all day long every day. You know, it'd be morning hours, it wouldn't be maybe a full-time position for somebody. Just to issue the permits in and out.
The health department does the plumbing permits,
Right.
and they're only, what is it, 2 days a week that the
Yeah,
state
just a
plumbing
couple
inspector's
days a
there?
week, and I think it's from 7 to 9 or 7 to 10 or something like that is how the health department does there. So, you know, we could structure something like that, so somebody's not sitting in an office all day long just waiting for someone to come in and do
Yeah.
a permit, you know?
All right.
So we might could do it that way.
Do we have some sort of a goal set for when we'll have the program in place? And people are asking me pretty often, and
Right.
it's kind of a confusing.
Well, I mean, I'm getting calls
Process.
daily about what our process is and when this takes effect. And the state attorneys in the state is calling me quite often as well. And Jeff's talked to him, Marty's talked to him. So we're, once we get the interlocal agreement from Calvert City, which I can call Greg today and see where they are on theirs, then we should be able to appoint someone to the position, I guess, and then go from there.
So City of Benton is, you're all good to go. And if somebody in the City of Benton wants a permit, they go to Lois's office at City Hall.
Yes, ma'am.
Hardin is very similar. They'll go to Hardin City Hall to pull a permit. And Calvert, I'm assuming, will be the same. County permits will be handled somewhere here in the courthouse.
I think that Hardin wanted theirs to come through however the county does it, was my understanding from their mayor.
So they want us to issue the permits out of our office?
Right.
Is there a difference in the fee that, are you all collecting some portion of the fees to help cover Lois's time, or is,
I think our agreement provides, the way we negotiated it, we would collect 20% of the fee, retain that for administration in the city, Because we'll have to do some things too. We have to notify the electric company, water and sewer, and do some things like that for the people that are involved. So there are a few things we'll have to do. And so we felt like 20% of it, and the rest of it just comes back to, and we,
Inspector.
right.
That's what I was curious about. So if, is Hardin's the same way then, the 20%?
Yes.
So if we're going to be handling those, what is Hardin keeping the 20% for? Are there other administrative duties that they'll have to take on?
I don't know about Hardin.
I guess we need to talk to Jason for clarification on
They'll
that.
have to, they will have to work with Western Kentucky Rural Electric because they are gonna be doing electrical inspections.
I think we could have an issue if you all are keeping 20% to cover that, but yet we're doing some of the work for Hardin and they're keeping 20%. We might need to make sure that that's not unfair to the city of Benton or city of Calvert in
Right.
some way, or, you
Right.
know, those agreements are all very similar.
Yeah, my understanding was that Hardin wanted to be run through us. Wasn't that yours from the mayor?
That's
meeting?
what I understood him to say, that
Okay,
he'd rather, you know, the county handle it.
right, that was my
Well,
understanding.
I didn't, I mean, that's the reason that I thought the 20% was appropriate, is because I thought they were gonna pull permits there.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm not
That's
sure.
what
But I'll check, I'll
Right.
find out for sure.
So,
Jason will need
all
to answer
those-
that, but I'm like Wendy, I understood the mayor to say, well, I'd rather y'all do it
That was my understanding as
and
well.
handle it. Now, we are gonna have to look at the fee because we are behind what the state says you're to collect. And,
That was, yeah, and that's gonna be in the ordinance.
During the ordinance.
Changing it to match the,
yeah,
that's what this is, that I forgot to put on.
but it's not on the agenda.
I forgot to put it on there because Jason handed it to me Friday after I sent them all out.
Yeah, I spoke to Jason several times Friday. We went back and forth about.
He brought it
stuff.
in about 15 after 4.
Okay, all right. Well, these are some things we're gonna have to get worked out.
Right.
We'll go ahead and take this up, but, or do y'all want time to look at this?
I think we have a lot of things that are still,
And we may
in
need to do a
limbo.
planning session with fiscal court and maybe bring in a couple people and figure out, because we've talked about like a permit, like a pulling a permit fee, a minimal fee. There's been talk of even some contractors registering, like not even
Right.
charging them to register, but so that, because we get calls all the time wanting to know about who's an electrician, who's a contractor. So, like during the ice storm, for instance, all the contractors came in, showed us their insurance, we just put them on a list. So something like that, we would be able to have a database with all the contractors and builders. And so there's several things that I think we need to do in order to get this going 100%. And it'll be a learning process for us all, no matter what.
All right, so you wanna hold off on this ordinance until,
don't you think so, Judge? Till we can sit down and,
well, this is the first time I've seen it. I
Make
haven't
sure
even
that-
seen it.
okay.
I just haven't.
So, yeah, it's fine with me,
Okay.
but,
What
but
that
we
is,
don't need to wait too long on this thing because,
what
We had
that
the first
is
reading.
what that is the ordinance, that's amending a previous ordinance where the 8 cents was set. And Jason came in
Yeah,
and brought
okay.
it back to me Friday afternoon about
That's just
Okay.
fee schedule.
4:50.
that's
Yeah.
just
It's only
fee schedule, all it is. That had nothing to do with anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, this
This
is
is
thought it
setting the
was
fee
the-
schedule.
to match that of the state, and Jason fixed it, and
And
I
you
had
can have
somebody
your
type
first
it this
reading on
morning,
that.
and I forgot to put it on the agenda, my fault.
Do we have to have our second reading at the next meeting? Or
You got time to publish it.
I would just like for us to maybe
I
sit
haven't
down
seen
and
the
have
ordinance either,
everybody kind of go over
Right.
what it is we're gonna do before.
If you guys want to schedule a day, we can all sit down, or whatever you guys want to do, whatever works for y'all.
Well, it doesn't matter. So you'd rather have a time to look this over, is what I'm hearing you.
If we are gonna be pushed to have a second reading at our next meeting, I would at least like to make sure that once that because you explained last time, once that ordinance is in effect, technically, we're required to begin inspections, and I think we're
No,
nowhere.
that ordinance is just a fee schedule.
No, this
The
is
fee-
just for the
That's
fee
just the
schedule.
fee
It has
schedule.
nothing to do with your,
Inspections or anything.
No.
Inspections are on hold.
That's what I was asking last time. I was asking when we read the ordinance for the inspections to actually begin, then after the second reading, we're required to begin? Because basically we're saying there's a process in
Well,
place.
oh, I'm sorry, I missed, what'd you say?
At the last meeting where we had discussed this, I was asking, when are we required to begin these inspections? Is going through the process of passing the ordinance?
Oh, not till after it would be sometime after we pass the second reading.
And
Of
in
a
the
different
ordinance,
Not
it
this
should
one.
be,
Of a
Doesn't
different
have-
one.
Doesn't have anything
Of
to
a
do with
different
this.
one? Okay.
but in the ordinance, it'll have a date, a start date.
Yes, it'll have a commencement date.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
just, this ordinance is because currently
Our fees.
what the fee schedule we're under right now specifies
outdated.
8 cents and 6 cents per square foot. And, the state is up to 13 and 11, and we're the state standard. So, and that's how we do our electrical. At some point, we had an ordinance for the electrical that said we would follow state standards.
Right.
So if that, and I believe that's how that's written.
Yes.
After Jason and I spoke.
If that's all it
And,
is.
so that'll, every time the state changes, we can just change it with the state, don't have to go through the ordinance every time.
That's basically, I think, what our ordinance says, that we will go by the state, using their fees.
The ordinance that he's amended is underneath it, the original that it's amended right here is where it had building inspection. That's
Right.
the change he made.
So Jeff, are you suggesting we go ahead and have the first reading of this
You
ordinance?
can go ahead and have your first reading.
All right. This is ordinance 2014-04. This is an ordinance relating to the adoption of the Uniform Statewide Building Code as promulgated in 815 KAR 7120 and 815 KAR 7125 by the Boards of Housing, Buildings, and Construction of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Whereas KRS 198B-060 requires that all buildings constructed in Marshall County, Kentucky shall be built in compliance with the Uniform State Building Code as adopted by the Board of Housing, Buildings, and Construction. And whereas KRS 198B-060 authorizes any city, county, or urban county government to require by ordinance permits, inspections, and certificates of occupancy for single-family dwellings. And whereas KRS 198B-060 requires that the local government to employ or contract for with an electrical inspection services, and whereas KRS 198B-060 authorizes each local government to establish a schedule of fees which are designed to cover the cost of the service performed but not exceeded. Now therefore be it ordained by the Marshall County Fiscal Court as follows. Section 1, adoption of the building code, that the Kentucky Building Code promulgated in 815 KAR 7120 and the Kentucky Residential Code promulgated in 815 KR 7125 by the Board of Housing, Buildings, and Construction, Commonwealth of Kentucky, are hereby adopted in full as an ordinance of the Marshall County, Kentucky, as set out verbatim herein. That a copy of said building code is on file in the Marshall County Building and Electrical Office, and said office shall at all times keep a copy of said building code for reference. That an attested copy of this ordinance shall be transmitted to the Office of Housing, Buildings, and Construction for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That the Marshall County Building and Electrical Office shall be designated as the local enforcement agency for the Kentucky Building Code. All building code inspections shall be performed by persons certified by the Kentucky Housing Office of Housing, Buildings, and Construction. All electrical inspections shall be performed by a state-certified electrical inspector specifically approved by the Marshall County Fiscal Court. That pursuant to KRS 198B-060, Section 8, a building inspection program for all required buildings and an electrical inspection program for all required buildings is hereby established in Marshall County, Kentucky. Permits and fees. that the fees for permits and inspections shall be as follows. For building inspections, the same rate set and charged by state inspections. B, for electrical inspection, a sliding scale as approved by the Board of Housing. Inconsistent ordinances repealed. That all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are to the extent of such conflict hereby repealed. Section 6, this ordinance shall take effect and be in full force when passed, published, and recorded according to law. That's your first reading of ordinance 2014-04. What is your pleasure?
What?
Doesn't that say that it's established?
It says that the rate is established.
Okay. It sounds like
We
the
got that rate
program.
anyway. We just
Right.
don't have countywide, we don't have inspections that apply to
Resident.
residences. What we have now, we have the first reading on that ordinance, and we've already had our first reading on the ordinance establishing.
Establishing it.
Right.
Make a motion to approve the rate change.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, next, we have the jail inspection, inspection report. This is to the fiscal court members. An inspection of the Marshall County Restricted Custody Facility was conducted by Chris Holt on April the 4th, 2014. I appreciate the time you and your staff spent preparing for this inspection and for the assistance provided to Mr. Holt during the visit. I'm pleased to inform you that no items of noncompliance were documented during the inspection process. Pursuant to Kentucky Revised Statute 441-064, a copy of the inspection report is enclosed. I have that for your review. And then we had the inspection report for the county jail. This was done on April the 4th. There are some areas of non-compliance. Roger says he just got the report in, and he is preparing his response. And so by the next court meeting, I know he's already corrected one of the areas of non-compliance. It was merely a table had to be put in one of the cells. That's been done. And the other items, Roger said he will have the answers and copies for us by our next meeting of the fiscal court. We had set today for bid openings for nuisance properties. And Jeff, you're gonna have to tell me, there were several different properties listed. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they were instructed to bid on each one separately.
All right. Marshall County Fiscal Court will be accepting sealed bids until 9 a.m. on Monday, May the 19th, for the removal and disposal of all structures, including foundations, at the following properties: 25 Hall Drive, Calvert City; 63 Hall Drive, Calvert City; 205 West First Street, Gilbertsville; 215 West First Street, Gilbertsville; 102 Maggie Street, Gilbertsville; 2336 Gilbertsville Highway, Gilbertsville. Each property shall be bid separately. Bid specs may be obtained at the County Judge Executive's Office, 1101 Main, Benton, between the hours of 8 and noon. For more information, contact Troy English at 270-703-6999. 6056. The Marshall County Fiscal Court reserves the right to reject any and all bids. I don't have these listed in any particular, we'll just see if they're bidding on all, one, or. This bid is submitted by David Street. 25 Hall Drive, Calvert City, $7,200. 63 Hall Drive, Calvert City, $7,500. 201 West First Street, Gilbertsville, $6,500. 215 West First Street, Gilbertsville, $7,300. 102 Maggie Street, Gilbertsville, $7,200. 3623 Gilbertsville Highway, $9,800. This is submitted by David Street. Next bid is from Gerald Chambers and Sons of Benton. We hereby submit a bid for the removal and disposal of the following properties: 25 Hall Drive, Calvert City, $2,400. 63 Hall Drive, Calvert City, $3,350. 201 West First Street, Gilbertsville, $2,850. 215 West First Street, Gilbertsville, $2,950. 102 Maggie Street, $3,850. And 3623 Gilbertsville Highway, Gilbertsville, $4,450. Chambers and Son proposes to do all 6 properties for the lump sum of $19,000. That is from Chambers and Sons. Next bid is turned in by Lakeland House Moving, Kenneth Baker. The property at 3623 Gilbertsville Highway, $2,300. 102 Maggie Street, Gilbertsville, $2,300. 215 West First Street, Gilbertsville, $2,300. That was 215 West First. 205 West First, $2,300. 63 Hall Drive, Calvert City, $2,300. And 25 Hall Drive, Calvert, $2,300.
They got bid on one.
They,
Oh.
I think they bet on all of them. This next bid is from Greer Excavating Services, Calvert City. 25 Hall Drive, Calvert City, $2,500. 63 Hall Drive, Calvert City, $3,500. 205 West First Street, Gilbertsville, $3,000. 215 West First Street, Gilbertsville, $3,000. 102 Maggie Street, Gilbertsville, $4,000. And 3623 Gibbertsville Highway, house demo 3,000, barn and camper 1,000, so I guess the total on that one would be 4,000. That is submitted by Keith Greer.
Excuse me.
The next bid is from Jeff Thompson, Midtown Auto. This is for 102 Maggie Street. He's got there's two different bids here. Tear down double wide trailer, remove all materials to ground level. Also clean up deck and loose things on the lot, not including garage building. For 2,000, now tear down the 24 by 30 garage building, remove all materials to ground level, not including concrete pad. Total of both structures, 2,500. He's only bid on two, it looks like. This is 215 West First Street, Gilbertsville. It's a manufactured home. Tear down, disposal of mobile home to ground, clear up loose things on the lot, not including the building in the back, $1,000. Building 30 by 40, tear down and dispose of all wood to ground level, $1,000, not including concrete pad. So that's just two bids from Jeff Thompson. For 215 and 205, and garage, clean both lots up and the land, $6,900. Maggie Street, tear down and clean up double wide and garage, $3,900. Hall Street, trailer and building and land, $4,900. 282, I'm not sure. House on 282. I don't
It's
see.
Gilbertsville Highway, the one on Gilbertsville Highway.
That's the number of that highway.
What's the address on that last one?
36.
Well, it's 3623
It's-
Gilbertsville Highway. He's saying 282. Is that?
It's the same thing.
Same thing, okay. All right, that's 5,900. Total for all buildings is 21,600. But then he's got a B, give all of them to me to clean, and I will do them for 19,500. If you bring dumpsters, price will be negotiable. This is from Perry Blades. So this is no good, or?
I think that new one,
Well, I've got one in there for Jeff Thompson, right? What was the date on that? I don't have the date on this one.
From the envelope.
May 15th.
Yeah, but this
That was
one,
the old one.
so this one's not to be considered.
No.
Okay. Do y'all have any idea who is the,
Look, they're low on everything.
Like Lakeland?
But you didn't,
Lakeland,
on the bids, on the sheets, it said take down all footings and everything. You know, you had me specifically put that on there. On the,
what's that?
and some of them didn't have, like, including footers, foundations.
Right, yeah, we knocked those out.
Okay.
Yeah, those are only this one.
I was just gonna say.
All right, if you got a-
Something else up today.
who's the apparent winner? If there is one.
It looks like Lakeland is low across the board for a total of $13,800. They're low on every one of them.
Lakeland, and that is Kenneth Baker.
Kenneth Baker.
All right. You've heard the low bid, Kenneth Baker. What's your pleasure?
Motion to accept the low bid, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. That the low bid of Kenneth Baker be accepted for these properties.
Now, Judge, we only had 10,000 set aside for this. Do you all want to make a motion to amend that and add in the rest? Or do you want to take a property off to bring it back down to the 10 that we have set aside for this?
Well, it'd be my recommendation that we amend the budget to reflect what the total cost is gonna be.
I think so too. We've gone through this much trouble, we might as well get it.
You can move whatever amount, if you wanna just do the 3,800, or if you wanna make it 5,000 from reserve, general fund reserves into that line item, we can do that.
Make a motion that we move 5,000 to cover the cost of demo.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no.
Is the property owner's not gonna do any of that? I mean, they haven't agreed, or it's all been,
That's why,
okay.
and
Right.
I'm gonna make it even more difficult, because I've got 3 new ones to present today as well, so.
Can I ask one question, Jeff? Once these are completed, is our next step then to file a lien?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, hold on
Once you
just a
incur
minute.
that cost, you can file and perform the plan.
All right, let's go back a minute. I need a motion to accept the low bid. I thought we got
That's
that.
the motion, you didn't get the vote
We did.
on the motion.
I thought we voted on it, didn't we?
Yeah, we voted. I made a motion to accept the low bid.
And I made a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We did.
All bid, say aye. All right, now, we have a motion to add $5,000 out of reserve to cover the cost of the demolition and cleanup.
And I made the motion and.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
That's 3 new ones that notices have been sent out, and I haven't got any word at all back. They won't hearing or anything, so.
All right, these are 3 properties. One owned by Steve York. That is in Tubbs Road. David Barrett, 168 Tatumville Highway. And is that Jim Clark?
Yeah, that one there is one from last year, and they did start the cleanup process, but I've gone back out there and it's completely stopped at this point. So, we don't have to resend out any notices or anything, because they did not follow through with their end of it of cleaning it up. But they did start the process, cleaned for about 2 weeks, and nothing else has been done. It's still,
All right. Mr. Attorney, do we move forward now and
Whatever you all choose to do.
advertising these, or
It's strictly.
do you want to wait till we get these cleaned up before we go with the next round?
I think we probably need to set an annual budget, and don't you? We're going into budget and set that money aside for it.
Have to. The thing is, it may be more coming in.
Oh, absolutely, there will be, you know that. But I mean, we can't do them all, but we can set it and then get some in everybody's district cleaned up. Don't y'all wanna
It's fine with me.
do? Start
Set it up
advertising,
For the next budget, next budget cycle.
start them like 1st of July. Maybe go ahead and advertise and get bids. Do y'all wanna do that? And then have it start the next budget cycle in July?
We can, they'll just have to understand we may have, it may not be as timely as they would like for them to be cleaned up. You know, we're gonna, we may accumulate several of these. This is how many now, Judge?
Well, today we had 6, and this is 3
9.
more here.
9.
And there's some others that have expressed they're gonna,
We're gonna need to bid
Try.
every one of those out, aren't we?
huh?
We're gonna need to bid each one out.
Yeah, yeah. I
Is
think
that
that's what
something-
we said we was gonna do.
And is that something that we can do online? Are we required by the state, since it's under 20,000? Could we do it online and save costs if this is an ongoing thing? Or, I mean, if we're bidding it because we think that's the best thing to do, but we're not required to, is that right? Or
Well-
as long as it's under 20,000, so
Yeah, I
technically
mean,
we
yeah,
could.
but in a bid thing, you're not assured whether it'll be under 20 or not.
Right. I mean, if one of the,
See,
some of
it
these.
Right.
it could go over, it could be under. I think it'll be under. I'm like Misty, but I don't think we can assume that. I
Because
think we'll
one
have to-
company may end up winning all the bids for the year, and then you end up paying
You're
them
over.
more than 20, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I guess if they're the consistent low bidder, we could award an annual contract and not have to bid them all.
We
Just
could
hard
do
to
that
do,
on
not
annual
knowing
bid.
what jobs you got coming up.
Yeah.
That
They're
might
all
save
different.
us.
That's the right thing. I know the one guy bid the same thing all the way through, but I don't think that'll be always the case.
So do y'all wanna go ahead and run those and get the bids and slate them to start for like
Give
the
us an
first week of
idea of
July?
what the budget for. For
I'm-
those anyway.
I'd
I mean,
make a motion that we
you've
go
got
ahead.
one here that looks like a nice house, but it's just
Joan?
junk kind of. And there was a complaint on it, so.
yes.
That may cost us.
He got the notice. He got the
You
notice.
think, well, we went up there and
Didn't request anything.
Russell did that.
He got it, I made sure he got it.
You need equipment. So that stuff probably can't just be picked up.
We were just wondering, on something like this where it's not really a structural issue, it's like debris, is that something that we could use inmate crews on? I'm just asking. I mean,
Well, you need, no, I don't think I would put them on
if it's
private property.
if it's an abandoned property, I'm not talking about obviously while someone's inhabiting. I'm just
Yeah.
curious if it's an abandoned supervised, obviously. I just am curious to know if we're gonna have to use county employees or if we're still gonna
We'd
have
have to check, I'd have to check with corrections and see if that is possible.
I mean, we have crews work all over
I
the
mean,
county.
if
It's not,
any-
you know.
Technically, anywhere that you can put county employees, you can put their helpers, technically.
I mean, we've used inmate crews to build roofs of the sheriff's ranch. I mean,
Right.
it's it's feasible use of labor. I was just curious.
We've cleaned up dumps, I mean, through the refuge board and the
Right.
road department have gone
That's
together,
true, that's true. So you-
cleaned up dumps before.
I
with
just, I mean,
our
a
own
lot of
people.
that's just picking up. It's not, I mean, like that, you know, I mean,
Well, the complaints have been filed and sheriff's gone through the steps that we required, and you got no response from any of them, Kevin?
and if
None at all.
We can clean up anywhere we want, I mean, we can clean up any way we want to.
Can you find out for us? I mean, we might be able to start on these a
I'm
little
gonna
bit
say you
quicker.
probably can on those smaller projects, yeah. But I'll check, I'll confirm and make
Okay.
sure.
Okay, we'll proceed with that, and we'll, Jeff, we'll wait to hear from you before we advertise, but, all the steps have been taken, and no response, so we'll go from there. All right, we have set a meeting, with the Board of the Jonathan Water District at 3 o'clock on the 29th of May. So put that on your calendars. We need to have this meeting. What we're wanting to do is just have them catch us up on their plans for the future, something similar to what we did with North Marshall. And because we're getting a lot of requests and calls, particularly from the Brewers area, Hardin, the Brewers out in that area, people that are needing water, and they're anxious to see how quick they might be able to get water lines by their property. All right, Road Superintendent report. Russell, you had a couple of items?
Yes, last meeting, we hired a couple of guys to follow the mowers. And I was really needing 3 instead of 2, and I was wondering if we could hire another one to follow the mowers.
We have 3 mowing crews, and I should have
Make a motion to
mentioned that then, Russell, but I didn't.
hire.
We have a motion to allow Russell to hire a part-time person to follow the 3rd mowing crew.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we need to lift the hiring freeze and hire all 3 of these people, or I don't remember how we.
Well, they're
did we do that?
temporary. They're all
They're
temporary.
summer
They're not,
workers?
yes, yes,
They're just summer workers?
yes.
Okay. So we don't need to do that?
No, you don't have to. Don't have to. You can,
Oh, that's
but don't
fine.
have to.
That's fine.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Russell, you had another thing on a level? or-
Also, we could really use a laser level that goes on the equipment as far as doing grade work and stuff, and I'd like to get permission to purchase one of them.
It's in your equipment budget already. I mean, you've got an equipment budget. I'd make a motion.
We have a motion and a second to allow Russell to purchase a laser level for the road department. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. I think we have one item, personnel item. You won't have an executive. Emily's asked for an quick executive session. So I need a motion to go into executive
Motion for
session.
executive session, Judge.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye, will be in executive session. Call the meeting back into regular session. We had an executive session, we have an opening for an assistant in our janitorial department here at the courthouse. Vicki Swegman left their employ, and it was the decision of the court to advertise and take applications. We have several already, but there might be others who might be interested, and we'd like to have this position filled by mid-June. And there's some reasons for that, but we will be advertising for that position. You've had an opportunity to review the bills. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
Motion to pay the bill,
Have
Judge.
a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Do you have anything, treasurers?
No, we covered all my
Okay.
stuff last week.
All
or
right.
Last meeting.
Do we want, MediaCom to stay here for the budget workshop?
Well, we've got a public hearing before that.
So do you want them to stay for that?
I don't see this necessary, but they can't, I mean, whatever y'all want to do, I mean, it's,
You never have.
we never have had them
Okay.
stay, but the public hearing, we do have, I would ask the fiscal court to go into recess for the purpose of conducting a public hearing that was advertised. Do I hear a motion that we be in recess for a public hearing?
Make that motion, Judge.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. We will open the floor for our public hearing. The Marshall County Fiscal Court, at a regularly scheduled meeting, a petition was filed regarding the inclusion of John Mason Drive as a new road and James Martin Drive and as an existing road into the county road aid system. Advertisements for a public hearing was placed in the May 13, 2014 edition of the Tribune Courier. Furthermore, public notices were posted in the Marshall County Courthouse at the entrance of James Martin Drive, at Kimham CPA, and Shoporama. County Road Engineer Russell York, Bobby Gifford, and Josh Tubbs were appointed as road viewers. During an on-site inspection on the May the 12th, 2014, the following conditions were observed. James Martin Drive measures 827 feet in length and 20 feet wide. There is no existing cul-de-sac. However, the intersection of John Mason Drive allows for turnaround. John Mason Drive measures 800 feet long and 20 foot wide. A cul-de-sac exists at the end of John Mason Drive for a turnaround. Based on information gathered, we make the recommendation that John Mason Drive and James Martin Drive do meet the criteria to be accepted into the county road system in its current condition. So at this time, we would ask, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the county accepting James Mason Drive and James Martin Drive into the county road system? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the county accepting John Mason Drive and James Martin Drive into the county road system? Third and final time, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the county accepting James Martin Drive and John Mason Drive into the county road system? Hearing none, would ask, is there anyone here to speak in favor of the county accepting John Mason Drive and James Martin Drive into the county road system? Anyone here to speak in favor of the county accepting James Martin Drive and John Mason Drive into the county road system? Third and final time, anyone here to speak in favor of the county accepting James Martin Drive and John Mason Drive into the county road system? Hearing no objection or anyone to speak in favor of, we will set this for a final vote at the next regular meeting of the fiscal court, which will be our June meeting, and I believe that's on June 3rd. I think that's correct. and we'll be on the agenda for that meeting. Is there any other business to come before the court? Or let's declare the court back into regular session, close the public hearing. Is there any other business to come before the court? Entertain a motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn,
We
Judge.
have a motion, is there a second?
Are you're gonna adjourn before, and
Well, we can go into recess and reconvene, or we can reconvene into a work session.
yeah, either way.
Whatever y'all want to do.
Make a motion that we reconvene into a work session.
All right, we have a motion that we recess the court meeting and reconvene into the work session, beginning after lunch.
Yep.
So we'll say 1 o'clock. All right. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. We are in recess.